Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. I'm here with Dana Malstaff, the founder of Boss Mom, mother of two, creator of Nurture to Convert, and author of Climb Your Own Ladder. She's been featured in Fast Company, The Huffington Post, Amy Porterfield, Inc. magazine, and even The Today Show. She's been featured as a speaker at conferences like Social Media Marketing World. Joining us today from the Golden State. Welcome to you, Dana. Thank you for joining. How are you feeling today?
I am great. I've got my coffee and I haven't had any meetings before this one. And this is the only thing I had to do today. So I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. Again, today what we really want to dive into is your program, Nurture to Convert. But if at any point you want to veer off and share any more of your experience, we are up for that as well. So,
right. I'm a talker, so you can get me going.
Okay. So really the starting point is, how did you get started? Like, what was the starting point? I know you're the founder of Boss Mom. I don't know if that's where it all began or somewhere before that, but how did you get started in the course world?
Oh, well, the course world definitely was before Boss Mom. I was in a lot of startups from when I was in corporate, and finally, the company I was at in Columbus, Ohio, now it's been about, 8-9 years ago, they were separating. It was started by the husband and the wife. They decided to get a divorce. So there was a big schism between who had hired whom. And, there's a lot of turmoil and people were getting, moved around and let go. And I had a mentor who was a consultant they had brought in, who was teaching me facilitation, and just said, you should be a consultant. You should just have your own thing. And a lot of things happened. And I ended up saying, yes, I'm going to do it. And my last day was New Year's Eve. And I had put in my notice and I was going to, resign. And everybody took me out to go drinking and celebrating. And 6 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with my first son. And we'd been trying for a long time. And the job I'd had, if anybody can relate to this, I was working 12-hour days. My husband and I were super busy. I was at a director level. I had a bunch of employees, and I loved it in the sense that I thought I loved it because I felt needed and I was good at what I did. But we had also been trying to have a kid and it wasn't working. And I think my body was like, oh, you're going to take a break. Okay, well, we should probably have a baby. And for any of the women listening, that put me in a position of building a business and something I love that helped with this blooming of an identity of me as my own boss and this, becoming a mother. And they totally clash, by the way. It makes you feel really guilty. You have no idea where to spend your time. Your productivity is all up in the air. And then once I had my son, I felt very alone and very isolated in the sense that I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I really had all these things I wanted to build. And fast forward from that, we moved out to San Diego, where I'm originally from, my family is. And I found all of these people here that were also moms having businesses, and realized that I wasn't alone, but there were probably a ton of women that still felt the way I did. And so my first book was Boss Mom. It was in 2015 that I put the book out. I didn't even realize that was the book I was going to write, and put that out, and it just did really, really well. We got a really good community going. So then we started the Facebook group and the podcast to go with it. And the Facebook group just started growing really well. And part of my background and expertise is in course development, quiz development, community development. And so we would go into companies and I would help build these things out to help with employee retention and all this kind of stuff. And so I was able to build this community that now we are known for. Like, we were featured on the Today Show because of the community that we've built. And now we have local meetups and all these things of a way for moms who want to have businesses to support each other. My first dollar, however, before Boss Mom was born, because I was a consultant for 2 years before I wrote the book Boss Mom, that was I would put courses on Udemy. I made a course about infographics, about how to build infographics for your business as a form of marketing. And, and I built courses, and then I went over Skillshare, then came over and said, put stuff on our platform. And so I started making courses on content strategy and social media strategy on these. And I started actually making my first dollars just because I wasn't scared to make courses. I just built things and put them out there, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And I did that for a while until Boss Mom was born, and I really had a brand. Boss Mom was the brand that brought all my skills into a really cohesive messaging. And that then allowed me to grow everything into my own space. So we had group coaching programs before Nurture to Convert Society was born, but the whole intention was always to have this one place where everything lived, that we could have one cohesive program, because I'm one of those people who doesn't like to hustle. I like to not do anything all day and have this creative space. And I have kids, so it's always unpredictable. And so we've now built it into, over the last 6 years, something where I only have a call with you today, and that's
Wow.
And it's glorious.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like you got pregnant, you decided you're going to leave, or in that order, and then you decided that you're going to write a book while you have a newborn, and you launch a book with the newborn. Then
my son was 2 and I was 7 months pregnant with my second child. I wrote my book when I was 7 months pregnant for the first half, and then the second half after she was born. So,
Wow. Amazing. Okay. So the book comes out, and then Boss Mom, you put the Facebook group together, the podcast to go with it, to support it, to drive, I guess, the community around it and the marketing around it. Crazy. Amazing. And that was very focused on a clear avatar. Do you want to talk about who that avatar was for Boss Mom, or do you want to already lead into Nurture to Convert?
Well, I think they mix together, because I did what everybody does, which is I started a group coaching program. It was a high priced product. I'm pretty good at sales, so I was good at getting on the phone and converting, and we had Boss Mom retreats, so I did these 3 huge events, had small masterminds. I did all the things people would normally tell you to do, and a couple things happened from there that is important to who my avatar is. Number one, we all have kids, and kids get sick, or like everybody noticed this whole pandemic thing where kids got sent home and all of a sudden you became their teacher, and, or people have, get divorced, or parents get sick, or mental or physical health happens, or who knows? It's a million things that just disrupts our intentions of how productive and successful we're going to be. So having something where my time was beholden to getting on coaching calls or running events or doing things like that made it so that it was very hard for unpredictability to be in my life. And as a parent, unpredictability is normal. It's just an average thing. So I noticed over time how stressful it made me to do things in launch style, in what I would call a coach-centric model, right? Which is, I'm here and I'm smart. So show up to calls. I will divulge my intelligence to you, and then you can disseminate that intelligence however you want in your business. And the other problem is that everybody would go, great, I love your advice, and I have no idea how to execute on that. I have no idea how to be accountable to that. So I feel amazing the day we talk, and then by 2 days after, I feel lost and alone, and I have no idea what to do. And so it's this high that people get. And I noticed that everybody in my community that was coming into this had that same problem. Right? They had that same problem. They weren't getting as good of results because it's hard, and sometimes you can't show up to calls. So the traditional group coaching model does not work for moms. It just doesn't work for me. I would argue, I don't know that it really works for any. It works for the 1% that were already going to be super successful, and you just had to give them a few tips, and then they were going to go execute. Everybody else needs more than that. And I come from a systems background, right? I knew how to make programs, like do like quiz creation and things that I used to work with developers in old companies that I understand decision trees. And so I knew I wanted to create something that didn't rely on me. right? I wanted to create something like a traditional business would be, where you didn't know who the CEO was, and you didn't know, you didn't ask them a question about how their product worked. That you got a tool and you used the tool, and it became better and better over time. And I wanted to do that so that moms at 10 p.m. when their kids went to sleep, or during nap time, or random times when they need support, they could come in and get the answers they needed when they needed them. So over time, we templatized everything we had. We created a system of exactly what. So I went. Let me put it this way: I went against what a lot of people tell you, right? In the sense that you solve one problem, you're going to help them make a course, or you're going to help them do one thing. But the problem is my women are buying all of those things and not getting a result because they don't have the support of how to put it all together. Because most of them aren't marketers and sales people, right? They're doulas and, women that are marriage coaches and, and all of these other things. And so the Nurture Convert Society was really built very specifically in a very specific way, providing support in a specific way, understanding that my audience constantly has unpredictability in their schedule, right? They do not have their business is not their number one priority, nor will it be. And they need to know that you can still build $1 million business when that's the case. Right. And they need to be able to get a certain kind of support where they didn't have to be a sales and marketing expert in order to become noticed and known and build up revenue. And it had to be evergreen. What we built for them and what we built for us had to be able to run so that even when I step away, I still make money and things still work. And we want to teach them those same systems so that it doesn't rely. I don't need them to have another baby, right? I want them to have like an empty nester that supports them. And so that's how it all came together, understanding who our avatar was. And it's taken us years to really move towards that. But I gave up a group coaching program that was making us a lot of money in order to build this, but within 1 year it had replaced the income completely, and I work a fraction of the time. And now my time is able to then work in marketing and actually be in the space to help my audience and our members in a way I couldn't before.
Awesome. So you went from money rich to time rich, and you've designed your business for unpredictability. I love that design approach, like saying, okay, because so much of what you're saying, right? What you said, what people will tell you what to do and best practices. And you're saying that your North Star was your family, and your family context is this unpredictability, and you want to be there for the unpredictability. That's what it sounds like. And so you're like, okay, well, how can I make this business and this society and even for my avatar, make it work for them in that same way? So that's great that you understand your avatar. You were the avatar first, and then you created the solutions for them. And I wanted to get deeper on what you said about templatizing and support. Could you talk to us a little bit about how is it that you're providing support now in a different way? Like how, I understand that things are evergreen, that things are templatized, but then how does the support portion of your program work?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple things. Number one is we treat the membership like software. So we have releases. So one thing for my schedule is we don't do a release every Friday. We don't give deadlines for things, because the moment we give a deadline for something, a kid gets sent home, sick or something happens. So we have this iterative improvement. So we have this list of things, just like a piece of software would, which is there any bugs we need to fix? Is there any new courses, existing courses that need to be updated? Is there new functionality? Is there, those kinds of things? And we have this list we go through, and we have the next 10 releases planned out so that, one, we don't put too many things in where we get overwhelmed. And two, we are able to then iteratively improve our support system for everybody and what they need without just adding more. I think a lot of memberships and a lot of courses and programs, one of their biggest mistakes is they make content for the sake of content, right? Like every week I put out a random training or I bring an expert in, but it has no meaning. It has no purpose. The purpose is just to to provide content because that's what they think expect. And people don't want more content. They'll take it in and then they'll think they're being productive. but it is your job to be the North Star for your audience. It is your job to be the beacon, that makes sure their ship doesn't crash against the rocks, right? And so we are very meticulous about what we decide to put in and what we decide to do. And we move things around, and we've created a system where I can move things around and give them a very specific map that says, don't do this first, do this here. Think about in this first section, I want you to view social media as a form of market research, and you don't get to view it as a form of marketing until here, but you viewing it this way will actually get you clients. Let me show you how that works. But so we really tell them how to look at their business in different phases, and we say it movement, momentum, and velocity are the 3 phases that we move them through. So we're very particular about that, so that the support they get is really guided. In addition to that, we do have a group call once a month, right? But that's really nobody cares about that. What we do is there's a tool called Loom. I mean, most entrepreneurs will probably know about it, but Loom it just allows you to screen, do a video. But what's great about it is instead of you having to export and import and upload, you just get a link. And so what we do is I have a progress coach. In January, we're bringing on another progress coach. But my progress coach and I go in, and as people ask questions, instead of just typing out an answer, which is never fully formed, we do Looms within our Facebook group, and our Facebook group is insanely engaged. And I'll tell you too, and within the course content, how we facilitate our members becoming really engaged parts. So, but we go in and we do Looms. So not only are you getting real time, like we call it just-in-time coaching, where they're saying, hey, this is my results framework. What do you guys think? And I'm able to actually pull that up and say, look, I like this here, but this isn't specific enough. And I want you to think about this. Now do this again and come back and post it back. So we can actually give iterative coaching instead of getting 5 minutes where they have to wait 2 hours of a bunch of people on a call. They're able to just watch this 5-minute Loom and stay focused on the thing, because everybody else's questions are going to make them go, ooh, I should worry about that. Maybe I should think about webinars. Ooh, right? And instead, we can keep them hyper-focused. So our Looms and our just-in-time coaching allows us to be more member-centric. And so I like that. In addition, we have within our training, and I recommend this as people are making course content or membership content or anything like that, if they're going to have a community along with it, is that we constantly tell them when to go into the community and what to post. So a lot of times you'll get a Facebook group that goes with the course, and people will just come in and they'll chat with each other, or they'll, ask some questions, but people don't know how to engage. And what I've learned over the last 15 years of community building is that you have to tell people how to act, right? Like when you go into a local bar, you know what the atmosphere is. If you go into a line dancing place, you know what to expect. Like if you went into the YMCA or to a basketball field or any of those places, we would know what the ambiance is. You'd very easily stepping in know how you should act and kind of what's acceptable and what the culture is there. We have to do that for our communities. So in our content, we constantly tell them, go in and I want you to ask these questions of yourself. And then if you don't know the answer, you're having a problem going here, right? So for instance, we just did a bunch of templates for promo posts that we did in Canva. And I said, look, if you like some of these, but you're not sure how to use what we're talking about to insert what you're doing in there, I want you to take a screenshot of this, put it in the Facebook group, tell us what the product is that you have, and then we'll come up with some ideas together, right? Like I want you to give these opinions and I want you to share them in the group. And then I want you to ask people to argue against your opinions, right? Because you don't, if you don't have strong enough conviction to argue against what you believe in, then you don't believe in it enough to make it a part of your core messaging. And so because of that, we create this really awesome system of engagement. And then we have a community ladder where the people that have been there for a while, because we bring people in on a monthly membership, but then we upsell to a annual membership, and then we upsell those people to a lifetime membership. We have that all in a rolling evergreen cycle, so that we don't ask people to come. We don't even allow you to come in and buy us a lifetime pass. You have to want it. So our lifetime members are like. It's almost like a cult. Like they are in it. They freaking love it because we didn't try to sell them too much up front. We nurtured them into a cycle of falling in love with us and wanting to stay forever. So those people, know because we've templatized stuff so well and we have such a good system, they almost know how to coach the people before them. So we have a tiered mentorship just of our members. We'll have people be like, "Oh my gosh, Danielle, we love that you're a part of the team." And Danielle's like, "I'm not a part of the team. I'm just a member that loves this stuff, and now I'm good at it. And now I want to tell you." And she'll actually is going to become one of our progress coaches in January. So we have this really lovely ladder that everybody is rewarded. And because our membership actually has a point system, right, then we only give you a certain amount of things and you earn points and then can unlock more templates. You can unlock more content. So we give you all the things you need to write your 90-day email nurture system, right? But you can spend 100 points and actually get templated emails that are like Mad Libs plug and play. But you got to do the work first, which means if you've watched the content and you getting points to implement going and pitching yourself to get featured and putting a buzz plan together, then you have enough points to unlock that. So you get rewarded for implementation. So we have this really nice flow of motivation, of accountability, of telling them exactly what to do. And then this next release we're coming out with, we have a decision support section where we've developed a ton of quizzes to help them make decisions. Should I have a Facebook community? Should I be on Instagram? What authority platform should I have? Is my opt-in good enough, converting well enough, right? Like what program should I offer? Those kinds of things. And that is just the next tier of how we look at support and how we provide support in a member-centric, just-in-time fashion. So they don't need me. They don't need us in order to make decisions. Therefore, all our time can be in the troubleshooting to make the things they're already implementing work better. And that's where a lot of the results happen, is in the iterativeness of it, not in the just simply making it, if that makes sense.
Wow, that was a lot.
I told you I was a talker. I warned you.
Yeah, that was deep. That was okay. So just to speak back a few things that I heard there. One thing I definitely heard is that you're leading by example. So you said about not just creating content for content creation's sake, right? To being very intentional about every activity that you're doing, and I see that being reflected in how you're running your group, because some of the advice that I've heard on that, specifically on how providing support, delivering your content, and then also following up with your audience in a Facebook group, for example, has been a little bit different. And the nuances, it's really the nuances that make the biggest difference, right? So, for example, one thing that I've seen work in Facebook groups is there will be bi-weekly coaching calls, and the full replay of that coaching call will be shared inside the paid Facebook group, right, for the paying members. But as you said, sometimes you don't need to watch an hour or 2 hours of a coaching call. Sometimes you really just need feedback on...
We send our call out and we have a video engineer splice it up into each answer, and then we provide those as separate little videos. And then we have a thing called Thought Joggers, where we have repositories of opt-in conversations, of things like, so if someone's going, I'm having a hard time figuring out, how to really get somebody to convert on a call or how to do this thing. And we go, we'll go back here and we've got a repository of posts and videos and things like that of other members that we've had these conversations with. Because content, we're just, like I tell people, consistency of content isn't the goal. It's consistency of message. I'd rather you make less and do less, but be consistent with your message. And from a support providing, I would rather you get people results as opposed to just be present. Those two things aren't. But people will, and just so you know, I've been in a ton of programs, and the people that are going to be really successful aren't going to watch it. And the people that are going to have a hard time being successful are going to watch every video you put out, and both are unhelpful to you in terms of getting you the kind of sort of avid fans that are going to want to tell everybody, oh my gosh, if you don't join this program, you're an idiot. And that's what you want. You want people to look at you and be like, if you don't join that program, then there's something wrong with you.
And what is the key transformation, Dana? What is the key transformation for people that are on the fence about joining Nurture to Convert?
Yeah, well, we don't want to, basically, we want the women who have inconsistent income. They know what they're doing. They know what their business is. Most of our women have advanced degrees that don't know what to do with them, don't know how to bring them online. But we get the women who have inconsistent income, right? But it's under the 8K mark. They're not at a 6-figure level yet, right? So once you get to the 10K a month and you've got our systems in place, I say, okay, here's the next person I want you to go to that's going to make you a millionaire if you want, or you can just stay here. So our perfect person is the person who wants to make 6 figures in about 15 hours a week of work, right? That wants to actually create freedom for themselves so that they can hang out with their family and do things and be able to grow their business without it growing the amount of time they have to spend. That's our perfect person. And that is okay with moving slower, because moms move slower anyway. So anybody who's telling themselves I'm not going to move slow ends up just feeling bad about themselves. And so it works this perfect thing that says, if you know you only have a few hours a day, right? You know that your business is your second priority, but still really important, right? You are not making consistent income, and you have no idea how to make the same what you made last month this month, because you have no systems in place. And as it grows, you want to actually free up your time instead of take up more of your time. Then this is the perfect system for you. And we basically the reason we've priced it the way we have, and I can talk about why I'm able to actually make as much money as I did, even though the pricing is lower than a group coaching program, is because most of our members have already spent thousands of dollars on other stuff that hasn't worked. They're like, oh, I have a course, or, oh, I did that thing, or I built that thing, and I did this thing, or I was in it, but then I got pregnant and I didn't do anything, but I only had 6 months access, so I just spent $5,000 and now I have nothing. And they've all been burned. It's like having in dating, like they've all been cheated on before, or it feels that way. And so they're coming in and they don't feel like they trust that they make good decisions, and they don't feel like their business is legit, and they don't know how to say what it is that they're doing, and it feels bad and it feels guilty, and they just want something they can brag about, right, and feel proud about, and that actually works, because a lot of them look at social media, and they look at their marketing, and they look at everything, and they just go, maybe I'm the problem. And so we do a lot of messaging to be like, you're not the problem. Your messaging is the problem. The system you have is the problem, but you're brilliant, and we're going to help you stop being the best kept secret around.
Awesome. Wow, that's great. So nurture to convert. If you're busy, if you're a mom, if you only have a few hours a week, 15 hours, you want them to get to 6 figures, Nurture to Convert is a program for you, because you'll get the templates, you'll get the system, plus you'll get the support in a very unique way of delivery. I haven't heard this way of delivery. The level of service as well, in terms of splicing the videos, that's very thoughtful and careful. That's very high level. I really like that. I'm going to steal that. And the next question is, you've already kind of talked to us a little bit about this, but maybe if you can make it more clear what your marketing funnel looks like today, from attracting your audience. You talked about the movement, and I know you use 3 M's.
Movement, momentum, and velocity.
There you go. And velocity was a V. So can you talk to us a little bit more about your marketing funnel?
Yeah. Okay. So number one for us is our Facebook group grows rapidly and organically. The way we've created engagement in there, we're now getting, depending on the day of the week, 100 to 300 requests to join a day.
Wow.
Ask for emails.
And do you have a free and a paid Facebook group?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our Boss Moms is free, and our Nurture to Convert is paid.
Okay.
So our Boss Moms one is the free one, and we get members asking all the time. And we've that's been around for almost 6 years, and it's just continually grown. And that's all organic. We don't do ads. We don't do anything like that. We just are. Facebook loves us because we've created an engagement system that works, is what I teach other people to do, is the way that we use market research, decision support questions, and use questions and permissions in a way that's very different from anybody else. We don't allow motivational quotes. We don't allow teaching posts, but our posts get a kind of engagement that most people don't, because it's a system that we use that works. But anyway, the point being is that that's really one of the beginnings of one of our funnels, because we ask for your email address, and we get around 1,000 leads a month from our Facebook group, just organically. And so, so that's one of the ways that we get emails. That's the beginning of the funnel. And then we also have a 90-day nurture guide, and we have a 5-day authority challenge. We've done it live and we flipped it. And we've done a bunch of other opt-ins and tried a bunch of other things. And then we have the fourth thing is our webinar. We have 2 webinars that we've been testing out and playing with. I've done a ton of webinars over time, but they have 2 different functions. One is how to structure your time to build 6 figures in 15 hours a week, and the other one is the 7 marketing mistakes that all mom entrepreneurs are making that's draining your time, your energy, and your money. Right. The one over here is built in a PowerPoint way. It's more traditional. The one over here is built for YouTube because we're playing with YouTube ads right now. Right. So I now have enough space that 80% of my time is spent marketing. Right. And that's what I want to tell people is when you're building, 80% of your time is spent building. Right. And 20% is spent marketing. And then at the point where all of the system is done, then I can flip that. And now I get to play with my marketing, which is really good. So what I do a lot now is play with what works. And when I find something that works, it's my job then to templatize it and give it to my members as this thing works for us. So that's what we've been playing with, even like moving from webinars from the live webinar to the system like a Ever webinar into something that's not, and does that make a difference and all that kind of stuff. So the webinar leads straight to a 3-day sale of our annual pass, right? And then our opt-ins lead to the thank you page of our opt-in, which is we call them our Easy Yes, which is basically your tripwire. And that is like our 90-day guide is free. On the thank you page, they can get our 90-day email nurture course for $47, right? But it doesn't include all the email templates. It includes everything and a really good guide. And then on the thank you page for that, it's $67 if they want to upgrade. And the thing that we do that really works for us is on any of our small price products, because we have a small course for our Facebook, community. We have our 90-day nurture. We have a project management system. We've got like these 4 kind of pillars that are our $47 courses. We have a bump on those checkout pages that allows them to get a free month of the Nurture Convert Society along with it, because our society is $47 a month. And we get about 50% of the people that buy one of our small price products saying yes to that. And then we get about 80% of the people that say yes to that stay. And so it becomes more of a reoccurring revenue opportunity for us just by that bump, because once they get in and they see the community and they connect and they're like, oh, crap, this is amazing. And we have a whole email set that goes out that nurtures them for those 30 days into wanting to stay in the society. So the front part is minimal opt-ins where we can. We get rid of things that don't work. We just use the ones that that do. The Facebook group is a really good form of lead generation for us. Actually, our webinars are the least successful thing. It does work, but we find it generally takes about 120 days of somebody in my email community or in my space to make get our annual pass or make a purchase. And so we have a really robust email nurture system. It's the same thing we teach everybody in the society, and that nurtures them each month. And we have a specific methodology for that. I call them permission sandwiches. So what we want to do is when we teach somebody something, everything I make for me and we teach somebody something has to be broken down conceptually, right? So what a lot of people do is they go, here, I'm going to give you 200 prompts for social media so you can just plug and play. And I'm going to, give you a bunch of these emails and it's going to be great. But the problem is what they're just giving you something that they understand and telling you to implement it. And it's not teaching you how to fish, so to speak. So I break things down so that it makes sense for people. So our permission sandwiches has a set of very 6 specific functioning emails, and then you just repeat the sandwiches over and over again. And so people understand email marketing. They start to understand what the function of it is. And when something changes in their business, it's very easy to pull something out and replace it with something because each email has been given a category and a purpose and a function. And so we do that in our own system, and it works. It flows in a very specific way. Its permissions are creating a sense of belonging. I give you permission to be a hot mess sometimes. You can still be super smart, right? I give you permission to have an inconsistent schedule. I give you those permissions. So we go permission, clout, training, recommend, ask, feedback loop, and then permission again. And those sandwich out. And then we end each month with a flash sale. So we have a very specific flow that they can do over a year, basically, is what we recommend. And that works psychologically. It actually works to build much better than just asking people for the sale, right? Like a lot of the email marketing that's just constantly selling at you. We actually get really good, like not just open rates, but responses and nurturing and connection. So that what I don't want is I want to lower those refund rates or the buyer's remorse people get when they're buying people's products. I want to actually build nurture systems that make people fall in love with you because you legitimately are meant to be together, not because you sold them on something that they feel bad about later, if that makes sense. Yeah, so traditional funnels, just like anybody else has, we're just very meticulous about it.
Okay, beautiful. Two things I want to go deeper into are, first is you spoke about decreasing churn or decreasing refund rates. Can you talk to us about any guarantees that you offer for Nurture to Convert?
Yeah, so since it's a $47 membership for our monthly members, they can quit at any time. And we make it really easy. Like, there's a lot of fear of like, well, if I put a button somewhere, I make it really easy, then people will quit all the time. And that's a weird way to think about it, right? If you buy a program and you have to jump through hoops to cancel, that means they know you're going to want to cancel because you're going to go in and find out if they're not what they said they are. The people that make it really easy for you to cancel, no, you're not going to want to because they've built something really good. So we make it very easy. You want to cancel? We even tell you, we send an email out before it's going to renew. We don't be here if you don't want to be here, right? That's what we built. We built something that we know you're going to want to stay. So you can cancel anytime. So there's no like refund for your $47 unless somebody comes in and in that day says, oh my gosh, I came in here and realized this is not for me at all. And then our annual pass is 14-day money back guarantee. You come in, you don't love it, and then you don't want to stay. You can leave, and that's fine. And then our lifetime access pass, we've never even had to have a refund because we don't offer our lifetime access pass unless you have been in the program. Like nobody buys that on accident. People email us and say, because we only open lifetime access pass strategically at a very timed interval. So they can't get it all the time. They can't just decide. So they wait until it's open again. And then that helps with our conversion rate. It's a way for us to create a launch-like feel in an evergreen system, right? And so that whole flow works. And this is what I tell people is that just like a romantic relationship, right? Or a friend relationship where if it is negative and toxic, if it is resentful, right, then that starts to permeate out into everything, right? So would you rather keep some money or would you rather keep a positive flow of energy within the programs that you're creating? And the answer should always be the positive flow because this creates more money, right? And the negativity, it becomes like a virus, right? You'll all of a sudden have somebody that doesn't want to be there, but you didn't give them a refund, and they start telling everybody else about why things they don't like about your program, and then it just starts feeding on itself, right? And I've seen that. I've seen programs where they won't give you a refund, even though you're miserable, right? And ones that are like $10,000, $20,000, and they're like, nope, once you're in, you're in. And those people make it known, like they don't say it out loud, but they tell all their friends, and then they bicker about it and they get angry about, and then it just nestles inside of their soul. That's not good for your program because then you don't know that you're known as the place that, is unaccommodating and that didn't get you any results and was the biggest waste of money you've ever had. But everybody else talks about it behind your back, right? And you want a program where when you're not there, they're actually saying good things about you. So if somebody wants out, let them go. Right? If they want out, let them go. Sometimes it's going to feel crappy for you. Sometimes it's going to feel unfair for you, right? But if you have a good business, that person is it's like an opportunity cost. That person will immediately be replaced by the right person. And you have to let them go. So I'm a big believer in have really good, stringent rules on your refund policy. Have them thought out. Have them written out. Have them in whatever agreement you have. Do that. And be willing to just let somebody go and give them a refund if something happens. Because I talk about a thing called a pie of engagement, right? Which is like the way the universe works. And it works for your memberships. It works for your free communities. It works for your relationships. And there's basically only about like when you break it up, half of the pie is always going to pretend like they care, like join your group, join your whatever, and then never engage. And I've even seen people buy $5,000 programs and then just never log on, right? So 50%, just let them go. Most marketers go, I'm going to try and make, really tackle that 50%. And then they waste their time. Don't do it. The other half of the pie is broken up into four not quarters, 4/12ths, like 12 percentage, right? And the top two are the ones who get amazing results, and those are your collaborations, those are your case studies and your amazing testimonials. Then the next 12% is going to get good results, right? And those are the people that you're going to get the testimonials from and that you want to help, get to that next little level. And then the bottom two are the people who don't get quite great results, but they think it's their fault, right? They know it's something that happened with them or they weren't focused, and they want to buy from you all the time because they know just a little bit more of you is going to get them to where they want to go. And those people are amazing, and they're going to buy all the things from you and say amazing things about you. And the other 12% of people who buy from you don't get a result, but they blame you for it, no matter what. It's always your fault, right? Those people are the ones that you have to give a refund to. You have to let them go because they are going to make it part of their job to make sure everybody knows that it's your fault that they're not successful. And it's very toxic. And so you just have to, when you see somebody that's in that 12% that they're not getting a result, and you see that it's not because of you, it's because they didn't do what you said. They're constantly, arguing that they know better than you or whatever that is. But you can see it. And I've even offered somebody a refund before they asked, just saying, I don't think this is a good fit, because you start to be able to see it happening. You start to be able to notice it. And once you've been in business long enough, you realize that the pie of engagement is non-negotiable. There will always be somebody, and you just understand, for us, it's like once a quarter, you'll get one person, right? And then you'll see it, and then you'll go, okay, I'm going to, and for us, they just end up leaving the membership, since now it's just the $47. But you can't avoid it. You can't make everybody happy. And there's always going to be one. And if you have something with thousands of people in it, then that's going to become 12% of whatever that, 1,000 is. So start to learn to recognize it and let them go, because you're never going to change those people's minds. And the sooner you get them out of your ecosystem, the better.
Great. Wow, that's very, very interesting. So the second part that I wanted to go deeper on your previous response was about the Facebook group, and specifically two things. One is what are some, maybe just 2 or 3 tips that you can share on best practices for using your organic method for building a Facebook group? And then the second part is going to be talking more about the challenge that you ran, that you said that worked well for lead generation.
Yeah. Okay. So everything is based around questions. Questions is always the answer. So the idea that you go in and you train and you give information is a very, I wish there was a better word from it, because it's just such a negative connotation with her, but it's a very egotistical way of doing things, right? It's a very me-centric way. I'm going to go in and I'm going to train. I'm going to tell you all these things that you need to know. And what people generally do is then they create groups that don't want to buy from them because they're, giving the milk away for free, as my mom would say, right? And so what we do is, instead of trying to give answers, we want to ask questions. And the great part is when you ask questions, now you don't just have to have your own group. You can go become micro-famous in somebody else's group. So for somebody who doesn't really have a community of their own yet, I say, before you start and try and grow your own community, go become micro-famous in somebody else's. So go into somebody else's Facebook group and you ask questions. So then they go, what kind of questions do you ask, Dana? It's like, I'm so glad that you asked. So we have a couple different ones. Number one is decision support questions. Those are things that you need answers for in your business that you want everybody else to help you vote on, right? So if you are working on a new lead gen opt-in, go in and ask them. We made an opt-in about opt-ins and we went out and asked the community. We said, hey, do you want us to show you how to build the physical opt-in, how to build the page so it converts, or what to do with them once they're in your email system? And everybody said, show us how to make an actual opt-in that works, right? And so because of that, everybody knew, we build buzz of people knowing that I'm working on, like, I help you understand how to use opt-ins. People start to become familiar with what I'm good at, but I also get actual answers on the nuance of what my audience wants. When you write a book, you do a podcast, you do anything, you go in and you say, hey, Here's the cover. What do you think? I'm redoing the website. These are my new, brand. Which one do you like best? Hey, I'm sending out we're creating postcards for our new members of the society. Which cover of the postcard do you like best? So what you can do is you can get decision support with really simple questions that people love to answer, by the way. People love to tell you their opinion on these things. It actually helps you understand your audience better, and it builds buzz and familiarity for what you do and what you sell. And there's a book called The Creative Curve, which talks about the requirements of building familiarity in a brand. And it talks about why the Beatles were so successful and why Nike's so successful, because of this building of a familiarity and brand recognition. And you want brand recognition for what you do. And so the decision support questions help. The other one is just straight up opinion questions, right? Like, what's your favorite podcast that you listen to? Like, what book are the things that don't necessarily, give you decision support for something, but it also tells you something about your audience. Like, hey, tell me the podcast you're listening to right now. Now you pitch yourselves on those podcasts. Right? Like, tell me when you go to YouTube, do you search for how-to stuff, or how do you use YouTube, and what's the last video you watch? So, and they have to be really simple questions. If somebody can't answer it in 10 seconds, then they're not going to spend the time to answer it, right? But so you get decision support ones. Then in your own group, you can also do celebration posts, right? Where instead of posting and saying, hey, I was, featured on this podcast, go listen. And then you get crickets because there's no way of engaging, right? You say, oh my gosh, I was just on this show and it was so much fun. And, I've been wanting to be on the show for a while. Everybody drop a gift below and celebrate with me. And we celebrate together. And what you'll do is you'll get some people that'll go, Dana, that sounds clickbaity. And I'm like, you don't understand. An online community is that, right? Like, if you came home physically and something good happened to you, you'd want everybody to celebrate. You'd want to tell them about it. We have to live our online lives like that, of a communal celebration, of communal decision support, of asking people's opinions. So when we there's a lot more different nuances of questions that we can ask, but those are just 3 ways that we can go in and get support. And then when in your own space, like your own group or your own page or whatever that is, we recommend doing 1 live a week. You could totally do more, but I don't do more time than I need to. And we alternate each week. So every other week we do a permission live, and every other week we do a training live. So the permission lives are very much about, you're not asking them permission to do something. You're giving them permission to be who they are already. So what I tell people is that if you are about to go live and your goal is to tell them that something's wrong, but you can help them fix it, that's not a permission, right? So for instance, I just did one the other day that said there's nothing wrong with you. There's just nothing wrong with you. Like when you think that marketing's not working and the problem is you, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm not going to try and fix anything. I just want you to understand, like you're a hot mess sometimes. Yeah, we all are. You can't cry out your intelligence, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, your kids, somehow the universe knows when you're going to do a launch or you're going to do something and everybody gets sick and it's super frustrating. Yeah, I can't change that, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you. And so you're not crazy. You're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. It has to be the answer to the training you give, because what it does is it gets your audience to single themselves out and go, yes, that's me. So that when the 100 other people come out with the same product you're going to come out with, because we don't create original things, right? They're going to buy yours first because you get them. So the permission every other week, and then the training every other week, it has to either fill a gap or give a hack. And filling a gap helps change their mind about something. Like, I might do a training on why you do evergreen instead of launches, why launches are a terrible idea for moms. And the entire goal is to get you to believe that evergreen is a better model. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to give you all the steps, but I just want you to change. I want to fill the gap of your brain thinking launches are good. Giving a hack would be, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do a flash sale with and use small price products to test your offers before you offer a large product. How to make money off of market research, right? Using that. And I'm going to give you a hack on exactly how to do a 2-day sale that, systematically without more than a couple days of work. And so when you do, and I templatize things like that because my audience doesn't know sales and marketing. They don't know social media, and they don't want to have to. But when I tell them your trainings are only allowed to fill a gap, give a hack, and here's exactly what the definition of that is, now they know how to implement that, right? And so it makes it easy. You ask the questions, you do the permission live, you do the training live, you do them very specifically. And then we couple that with making everybody brainstorm out what their opinions are. And these are just defined opinions about what you think about your industry. Like for me, like my defined opinion is do evergreen instead of launches, right? What you think about life, like you can't cry out your intelligence. You can cry a minute and then be super smart the next, and then tactics and strategies, right? Which is do low price flash sales first before you have a high end product so you can test out what works. So we have everybody map those out, and then we have them repeat, because I tell people stop quoting people and start becoming quotable. Consistency of messaging is key. So in all of our questions and everything, you build familiarity, you build buzz, you actually get decision support, you get insane engagement, right? You build belonging and permission. You're changing the way they think and giving them just enough of the little hacks in order to know that you know what you're talking about. You couple that all together, and it's a beautiful little ecosystem that gets people to buy from you. They'll just go to your site and they'll just be like, I just know I need you. And it's a really good flow that's actually easy to implement for people where sales and marketing isn't their strong suit.
Very interesting. And do you think I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of my audience and some of the conversations that I've had. I'm curious about how many of them would engage more if I were to use some of these tactics. I'm gonna have to try that, because one thing that I'm observing about your group is that the avatar is very homogenous. So you have women that they share a lot of these similar feelings and a similar context. And if I'm kind of like looking at this, I'm like, man, I can really see how they would feel comfortable speaking with each other, because they are reflections of each other and they're similar. Whereas in another group, you can have, people of different ages and whatnot. But I have seen that work in, for example, in the trends group. So anyways, I'm kind of just like thinking out loud.
I'll tell you, by the way, there are instances where a Facebook community or a community like this doesn't work, right? I've had clients that help diabetics. They don't want to go into a group and talk about having diabetes. That's no fun. Divorce groups are very hard to get, right? They want to be, they don't want to go in and they can become negative very fast. There are absolutely, that's why we do the quiz. It's like, should I have a Facebook community? There are absolute instances where you will not have success with this model, because the group is, I tell people either have a problem and they want to share it, right? They have a problem and they don't want to share it, or they have a problem but they don't know they have it, right? And you have to know where your audience sits in there to understand how they will communicate with each other. But I will also say, if you have a community and everybody is so different that they have nothing in common that they believe they could share and impart wisdom with each other, then you don't have a good enough niche space, right? You need to drill down on who should be in that group. I've been in a group coaching program where everybody was so different. None of us added value to each other. And then you can't build community around that. So you do want to build programs where people have at least one thing they have in common that they can share with each other. But I will say, everybody wants to be smart. Everybody wants to share their opinions. Everybody has something to say about something. So questions always work. It just depends on which kinds of questions you have, but that's one of the things, like in our society, we have women come in and we brainstorm out what those questions are. And then people like me who do it every day, I'm really good at it. And then Nicole on my team who runs all of our operations, over the past 2 years, she's gotten really good at it. And now she'll come to me with a group of questions, for us or a member she's looking at. And I'm like, oh, damn, those are good. And she's like, oh my gosh, I now realize that this is a skill. Right? Like everybody does it and they go, well, it's easy for you, but it's hard for me. All of this stuff is a skill. Marketing is a skill. It is a practice. It is like a martial arts, right? And it's going to feel awkward and weird, and you're going to question whether it works in the beginning. But if you play with it enough and you practice it enough, questions always work. Questions will always be the answer. If you allow yourself to play with them long enough.
Okay. Thank you for that context there on the different groups and situations where and the reasoning for your quiz. It's awesome. 2 last questions here to take us home. The one is, I wanted to follow up on the challenge. What was your challenge like, and what were the results of it if it were successful? And then last, I'm just going to ask you to talk about Nurture to Convert. So yeah, the first question, can you talk about the challenge that worked for you? What was it around, and what was the format? How long was the challenge and whatnot?
So, and hilariously, I do not recommend challenges or quizzes for people as lead gen often. And there's a couple reasons why. And then I'll tell you how we flipped it to work better for us. Okay, so number one is we did it live. So we did a pop-up Facebook group, which we've tried before, and we've had some good success with a pop-up Facebook group, and then we close it. So if I'm doing a big affiliate program, like with Amy Porterfield I used to do, or like this. So it was a 5-day authority building challenge, and we spent 2 weeks siphoning people into a Facebook group that was just a pop-up Facebook group for this challenge. I pre-recorded as opposed to going live, because to me going live is and then flipping that when you're like replying to people's comments doesn't work very well. So I had 2 little kids at the time, because this was a couple years ago. And so I pre-recorded. Each day, we mapped out one little thing that they would do, just like a challenge, right? You make it simple, you make it clean. And one of the things I tell people is the permission sandwiches that we talk about, we build them into everything, right? So everything is about creating belonging, clout that shows legitimacy, that people believe you're actually there. So testimonials, features, things like that. Training that you're actually going to do in the training, right? Recommending, as in like telling them what to do next, or recommending tools or things that they can use. And then you're going to do the actual ask of what you want them to take action on, whether that's working with you or finishing the challenge for that day. And then a feedback loop asking them a question. So we train people on, when you're doing videos, to like a challenge for this, that everything is its own permission sandwich. It flows people nicely through trust, building trust with you. So we did the videos. Each day we do the video, we do a quick challenge, or like write a pitch email for you to and go pitch yourself on a podcast, or do, whatever I can't remember off the top of my head, the 5 days, but each day was a very tiny thing to do. And what I do a lot is inline mentioned. So at the time we did have to re-record these, because we used to call the Nurture Convert Society the Boss Mom Vault. And we changed the name because the vault sounds, we did it because of Disney, we're moms, but the vault sounds like a repository of stuff. And so it didn't sell that well. We changed the name, sales skyrocketed. So really the name speaking to the result is way better than a name that speaks to a big place of stuff. So good lesson for us. We changed it to Nurture to Convert Society, and we went out to the community and asked, hey, it's Nurture to Convert, but should it be club? Should it be society? Should it be, academy? And everybody voted on society. So we built up a huge amount of buzz by asking these questions. And we asked, which logos do you like? So before it was flipped and came out, everybody was talking about it, which is really cool. So the challenge, so we did the 5 days, we did the video, so it was a live in the group, but were pre-recorded videos. At the end of the 5th day, or on the 5th day, we did a webinar style, right, and sold people in. The live did not convert very well. I find that live challenges very rarely convert the way you want. I've seen like Jasmine Star do them for her Instagram, and for her it seems to work really well, but she's an anomaly. For most people I see it, they don't work very well. And so, but it was really good content. So it converted okay, but most people, what happens is they get to day 2 and then they can't finish it. And then so they feel guilty that they haven't finished it. So they don't go to day 3. And then you get a consistent drop off of days. And it just, so by the end, you've got a fraction of what you had before. Just go for the webinar. Everybody just do a webinar, because a live challenge like this, I believe, doesn't get you the same conversions that you would like. However, we flipped it to evergreen. And we flipped it so that in our back-end system, I have, the course platform that we use Access Ally to do our whole back-end system. And each day it'll unlock, if they finish the first one, it unlocks the second one. And we have a system of reminders. So I have a robust system enough that if they don't do day 1, it sends them out a couple emails. It's like, don't forget to do day 2. So we do have a system of reminders, and the system of reminders and then the flow from that into our general nurture system is what works. So our authority building challenge as an opt-in and as a tool isn't what converts. It's generally our authority building challenge and the 90-day guide and talking about our Facebook group that all works together, because when we go in and look at who's buying from us, they've generally opted into 2 or 3 of our things over that 90, 110, 20-day period, and gone through and felt the authenticity of what we're building. And then when our next flash sale comes up, because at the end of every month that they're in our nurture system, they get a flash sale, then we see the purchases. And so I don't think that the authority building challenge on its own, it does get opt-ins, but I don't think a standalone gets the conversions. I think it adds to the ability to get conversions, if that makes sense. But it does work in terms of getting leads.
Wow. So much good stuff there, Dana. Man, I feel like I could ask you questions till tomorrow and you have answers. But for the last question,
I tell people, like, be careful what you ask me because I always have an answer.
That's a good thing. Last thing, tell everybody, please, how they can find you, how they can get on Nurture to Convert.
Yeah, so we just nurturetoconvert.com. And one thing, final thing too, is we constantly reiterate our marketing, right? So we found that most of our audience believes they need a group coaching program. And for the first year and a half, we were getting great sales, but we had this sort of hump where people would join the program, but then they'd also like go get a group coaching program or do something like that. And so what I was trying to do was replace what your group coaching program was. And I was trying to maybe not call it that. And then had all of these conversations. Because I have a lot of space in my day, it allows me to think through things longer and marinate in them. And I think it's really helpful to coming up with better ideas and being more strategic about what we do. And we realized that it is a group coach. I mean, what we do is better than most group coaching programs. The support we give is better than most group coaching programs. So we went all in, and we just recently changed it to and Boss Mom is a very established brand. So we've changed it to the official group coaching program powered by Boss Mom. And so before, it was a business building membership, and now the group coaching component has completely flipped the dynamic. And so before, you could only get the monthly $47 a month, and then on the thank you page, it would give you a one-time offer to get a discount off the annual pass. We've now flipped it, and we use deadline funnels. It pops up, and you can, on the sales page, get the annual pass for 40% off, and it gives for 3 days, and that's it, and then it goes back down, goes away. And so when you get to that page, it gives you this anticipation. But the change, I want to tell everybody, the change of calling it a monthly membership and having it an annual pass doesn't sell, because monthly memberships, like a gym membership, nobody wants to pay more than $47, right? You flip it to talking about it like a group coaching program, that then now this is the lowest cost group coaching program you've ever experienced, where you can get an annual pass for under $500. And now all of a sudden it's the most affordable thing, and it's a great idea to get you what you need. So everybody should realize that the nuance of the words you use and what the industry believes those words mean and what they believe they need, if you fight against using it sometimes, it can cost you money, versus us flipping that has already helped increase sales, because our women already believe they need that, and they either got pitched a $10,000 offer or our $500 offer, and then we have an insane amount of testimonials saying how amazing we are. Now all of a sudden, this is what you need and not that. So just the tiny flip in the way we phrase things and the way you phrase things can make a huge difference. Like I said, even just Boss Mom Vault to Nurture Convert Society flipped the way our sales work, and we continually, it doesn't matter how established we are, we will continue to push to try and figure out better ways to phrase things, and for our messaging and for our marketing to convert better. And I have so much space now that, like I said, I get to spend a lot of my time figuring that out, and that's how people go from, the this much money to this much money without all the effort, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense, Dana. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you so much for so many insights, the positioning, the pricing, the product, the delivery, the man, there was so much in here. I'm going to share this. And again, I hope we can connect again. Have a great day. I'm glad you have space in your schedule now. So yeah, thanks again.
I know, it's
Dana.
so nice, right? Thanks
Enjoy
for having
your family,
me.
and we'll talk soon.